Hello, everyone, and welcome to Whiskey Wednesdays, a Fools and Flagons show where I, the DM, review and discuss various topics regarding D&D as suggested by you and the lovely people in our Discord. Whiskey Wednesdays will be available the Wednesday after the Twitch stream on our YouTube channel and in podcast form on iTunes, Spotify, and many other mainstream podcast services. We have a calendar to help keep track of all of our upcoming streams because we're kind of spastic and this is a hobby for us. The link should be down below for you to click on and see what's coming up next. Moving on. Whoa! Hello, Becca. Donations are never required, but always appreciated. If you would like to support us, please consider our coffee page. All proceeds from donations and memberships go straight back into making Fools and Flagons an even better experience, and it helps keep the podcast alive and well. You can purchase a doodle of questionable quality from our coffee page. For mere $5, you're not only helping us out, but you'll get a doodle from Vanera, a creature of your choosing, the quality of which will be questionable at best. I would also like to say that your subscriptions and bits on Twitch are very much appreciated. I do apologize that I cannot recognize them on stream during the campaign for the sake of not interrupting the story, but your support is always appreciated. So,
Lies.
Announcements are done. Whee! Okay, cool. First drink of the night. Here we go. And sip.
Chug pussy.
No, you don't chug whiskey.
Yeah, that's why I said pussy afterwards. Obviously you don't chug it, so I'm calling you a pussy.
No, he's smart. Don't be wasteful.
Well, it has nothing to do with being smart. It's proper Irish etiquette.
Exactly. See?
Wasteful.
Ian gets it.
You're
No.
a fucking heathen for chugging whiskey, you monster.
I don't take offense to that.
Okay. Well, hi, hello. I tried to blitz through those announcements as quickly as possible because it's boring for everyone involved, but there you go.
Failing miserably.
What?
What?
I will end you.
You can try. Okay.
So, on our topic board, or topic menu for tonight, we've got introducing a new character to an existing party, be it a brand new character or an old character's death. Hopefully, Kayla will be joining us because she suggested why Kelpie is great and druids are broken. If she doesn't show up, we may just skip that one, or just skip to, I don't know, we'll talk about druids and how much we hate them or something. Another one that was suggested, I believe this one was suggested by Martyr. I forgot to write down, hold on, let me go to our Discord channel, which you should totally join. It is free, and we are super fucking friendly in there.
Which one? Which subject?
Let me see.
Oh, yes.
Ian, which subject?
I'm looking. Yeah, I don't remember if it was Martyr or you, Zeke, about the casting spells without spell slots.
Oh no, that was me.
That was
I think he chimed in though when I suggested it.
Well, we're also going to talk about Taverns and Inns, and we will be discussing very briefly on Divine Intervention, as there is a certain someone in the party that is actually two somebodies that are sort of close to unlocking that ability. So, with that being said, does anybody have a particular menu item that they would like to start with?
This is your stream, good sir.
Oh, I'm
just
just
roll a
the
D6?
Catalyst.
I'm just the guy behind the counter. You guys order.
Want to just roll a d6?
Oh, that'll work. Let me just grab a little thing in there. And there's a hurrah! That is 4 Taverns and Inns. So this is something that I've been trying to expand myself on and make it a little bit more in depth, because I feel like there's a bit of a stereotype in some descriptions that I hear and the way that they're portrayed. And like, okay, so taverns, man, words are hard. Not all inns are taverns, and not all taverns are inns, but they can be both. So taverns generally provide food and drink It's where people come in the village to relax after a hard day's work, catch up with each other, and just wrap up the day. An inn provides rooms for sleeping. Inns will sometimes also have food that doesn't necessarily make them a tavern. A tavern usually has a big open space with lots of tables, a bar, kitchen in the back. So an inn can be a tavern, but a tavern can't be an inn, if that makes sense. Generally speaking, in the wide world of nomenclature. So the first thing I really wanted to kind of touch on with that is just the basic bitch, like bog standard, boring as fuck stereotypes. There's a mysterious figure in the corner, they're a quest giver, and, you know, the other thing is, like, a DM that really just doesn't understand or maybe just doesn't even care. A low number of staff working at these locations. It takes a lot of fucking people to run a business. And, like, you might be able to get away with it in smaller towns like what you guys have been experiencing in the Untamed West, but a bigger town's going to need a lot more people to run it.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other stereotypes that you guys can think of? Like, when I, the DM, say, you walk into a tavern, what's, like, the first thing that comes to mind? Like, oh boy, here it comes.
There's a bunch of groups of people giving shoddy looks at whoever walks in because they think they're hot shit. I can't tell you how many shows or animes I've watched where, like, the character of the group walks into a tavern and just, like, all of a sudden it's like everyone's just, like, in their groups looking at him like, who the fuck is this guy? Who the fuck are these guys?
Yeah.
Just prejudging.
Well, no, I have... Go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say, my first instance is it's always a dingy wooden building, low light, random race person behind the counter. There's usually a chimney and a fireplace in the corner, and that's that kind of just dingy wooden building.
Well, to kind of go off of what Zach was saying, it is very much a stereotype, and you're not wrong. But some places actually kind of touch on it a bit, because a lot of the times those places are where people of the town meet every single night to gather and talk and hang out. And then this adventuring party comes in, and as you said, they're literally just like, who the fuck are these people? So, yeah. I mean, in some instance, there is a reason behind those stares, but you are right. It is very much an overplayed trope. So, some ideas that I have to break some of those stereotypes is you have a normal-looking local approach the party with a job, instead of having the mysterious pipe smoker in the corner, the lone wolf, Aragorn motherfucker. So, one of the ways you can go about that is you can have the players overhear a conversation about a problem. So instead of, the five of you walking into the building and some guy comes up and he's spinning his hat in his hands, like, "Excuse me, sirs, I have a massive rat problem in my basement." You are there enjoying yourselves, having a drink, and you overhear at the next table loudly talking and cursing about rats that are in his basement. Now, knowing you guys, you would probably completely fucking ignore it and just go on with your day.
They're
But
fucking rats.
but it's a different way of presenting a quest instead of, someone who has a job like that isn't going to be sitting in the corner waiting. They're going to be going out and looking for someone. The other way to break it is fill the place with NPC servers, cooks, cleaners, bards. Have some food and drink menus prepared that match the location. So, if you're seaside, you're probably going to have a lot of fish. If you're in the middle of nowhere, you're probably going to have some leaner, tougher meat from like deer, maybe big insects, depending if you're near mountains or whatever. If you're out in like hilly pastures, you're probably going to have nicer, juicier cuts of meat because, you know, the wildlife there can support such a thing. The NPCs have lives. The NPCs are, I mean, as I said before, they're there to relax after a long day of work and socialize with each other. They aren't sitting around waiting to give people a quest. So you can make them impatient. And if the party takes too long to decide, you know, they say, hey, I'm willing to give you 10 gold to go kill this giant cricket in my basement. And you guys take too long pitter-pattering because some of you don't want to touch and fuck with bugs, and some of you are saying, well, 10 gold's 10 gold, let's go do it. If you take too long, the NPC might just fuck off and not give you the quest anymore. You guys are
not wrong.
really budding conversationalists. It's fun
I
talking
mean,
to
like,
myself
I
here.
don't know when I don't know when you're gonna stop, or like if there's just more.
No, just fucking interrupt me at any point.
Oh, okay. Shut the fuck up then. Yeah,
Okay.
that can happen. I mean, like, it's always a matter of presentation, like, and then indecisiveness. I mean, you are right. If the party takes too long, a normal person would probably walk up and say, "Screw this shit. I just go find somebody who would probably want to do it."
I actually watched a video not too long ago. It was one of the original Baldur's Gate games, I think, or maybe it was one of the Elder Scrolls games. But you could actually break the game and make it so you couldn't beat it. Like at the very beginning of the game, you're approached by an NPC who says, like, "Hey, there's someone who wants to hire you specifically. They're going to be at this tavern in this city, and they'll wait a month for you." Which, first off, waiting for a month for someone to show up is a long fucking time. But if you dick around and do a bunch of side quests and you don't go talk to that person in that month-long period, you know, the month-long in-game period, they'll leave. And then you literally cannot continue the main story. You have to quit the game and start over. It's just fascinating that someone figured that out.
Interesting. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. People usually do go off on tangents. It depends on like what the in-game time actually equates to, like how long a day is, like how long it might take you to do other stuff.
I mean, you guys are technically sort of experiencing something similar. I mean, you just got invited to a wedding that's, what, 3 weeks in the future? Maybe a month?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, something like that.
now you guys are, I say you're debating, but it sounds, according to Vanira and Kasumi, that, no, we'll come back to that.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not good. It shouldn't take us a month to.
I'm sorry, you were
Well,
saying?
I don't know. I don't
What?
think it would
What?
take us a month to travel that distance, but I don't know.
But again, anything can happen.
I know, and oh no, Zahn won't have to go to a wedding for somebody in the Nightly Kingdoms. What will he do? If only he ultimately cared.
You are so racist.
Racists hate the Nightly Kingdoms.
Yeah, racist.
Listen, I'm not racist. I just hate everyone in this country, and everyone else is all right.
Oh, what was I saw a meme. It was two chimps, and the first one asked the other one, "What do you hate the most?" And he said, "Nouns." The guy's like, "Nouns?" He goes, "Yeah, people, places, and things."
So I do have something to add about kind of changing up things about taverns.
Yeah, go for it.
Which of course my children were loud, so I needed to stay muted until I could.
I thought you were just ignoring me.
No, I'm just trying to keep the background noise to a minimum. So when it comes to taverns, pretty much every single game that I have played, for the most part, when you go to a tavern, like when the party goes to a tavern, we get met with a lot of decent hospitality. It's rare for us to go to a tavern and run into a situation where we are greeted like garbage.
Hostily.
Or it depends on where we are, if it's a hostile area, or like you said, there's a bunch of locals here, and then these people that look completely not like anyone in the town show up. I've worked customer service for way too long to admit. There are not always people who are that great at hospitality that are in hospitality roles. So
That's fair.
I could just see that as a little interesting perk to where either we have to win him over to try to get the information we need, or we just
Or
flat
beat the
out.
shit out of him until he gives us a fucking room.
That's
Hell
always
yeah.
an option. But that would kind of be a nice little challenge to throw at the group to be like, oh, well, we thought we were just going to go to this tavern and get some information after buying a couple drinks. Apparently, that's not going to fucking happen.
Oh, give
Because
it time.
typically people picture taverns as very, hospitable places to get information.
I mean, in all fairness, you kind of had that opportunity. You guys just asked the right questions, or I guess technically the wrong questions. For example, when you guys went to Locust Harbor, you absolutely could have gone to a very shady, fairly shitty tavern and inn, where you would have run into situations like that. But instead, you decided to spend big money at the Lone Palm Inn, which is very upscale, very prim, very proper, very nice. So, of course, you're going to be treated well. And then you go to these other smaller towns where, they may not get a massive influx of tourists. So you try to keep your clientele as happy as possible. Same thing in Rivercross. There were like 2 or 3 different inns that you could have stayed at, but you guys chose the little, mini village one to go stay at.
I think another great thing is about Taverns and Inns is if the DM has done his world building properly, the Tavern and Inn, like you said, it's where everyone comes, and it's kind of like not the heart of the city, but it can be in a weird way. And so a lot of times, if you've done your world building correctly, it often reflects the town as a whole. Like if you go to like a seaside place and you see an inn that is like its roof is like the wrecked ship, like they used a wrecked ship to make the inn out of. That's cool. That's thematic. That kind of tells you the kind of feeling of the town itself. Or if we go to Nightly Kingdom, we're probably going to encounter those standard stone buildings. If we go to a place in maybe in your home country, Kasumi, we might end up at a place that has a hot spring. Like,
I forgot what they were called. Something. Onsen?
Yeah.
Onsen?
Onsen. Yeah.
So actually, speaking of stereotypes, this one actually chuffed me quite a bit, and after like the 3rd or 4th time, I just gave up correcting you guys. The Tempest Inn was not 2 stories. And you guys kept saying, "Oh yeah, I come downstairs," and it's like,
"Oh yeah."
But there's no upstairs. It's all one level. It's just long. And like I said it multiple times, and every single time in the morning, "Oh yeah, I come downstairs and go to breakfast." Like, it doesn't have 2 floors.
I don't remember if I did that. I don't think I did.
All of you did. Yes, all of you did.
Well, that's another thing that's very stereotypical. Is like you have
the bedrooms are upstairs.
Yeah, you have the common area downstairs and the rooms upstairs. It's that's very stereotypical.
Yep.
I tried. Remember that the Tempest Inn is just more like a Motel 6.
Yep. Pretty much. Yeah.
Quebec has awakened from his concussed slumber and is here to make it your problem.
Meh.
Shut up and clean your glass. Part of me wishes I had actually animated him cleaning that glass. It would have been funny.
Just perks up every time he talks and polishes it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I already touched on it before, but interesting characters, they don't have to be important quest givers. They can just be fun. Like Amanda's aides, John and
Mm-hmm.
can't remember what the other girl's name was off the top of my head. But yeah, just, I mean, not even necessarily with the ends, but like Canlin. I didn't think she was going to be as much of a hit as she was.
It was a kobold.
Wow.
Yeah, you should have saw it coming.
I was like, you literally said kobold, and I was like, well, wait and see what happens.
Found our favorite NPC.
I'm not saying I have any problem with that. I'm like, she's great. I love her character. It's just like, I knew that was going to be a thing.
Just tossing Stacy and her mom.
Yeah, I've heard she's got it going on. She's all that I've wanted, and I've been waiting for so long.
See, the problem is we've established the party's favorite NPC, so at some point she's either going to be kidnapped or murdered.
I mean, you say the party
or the big bad.
NPC. You don't know how.
Or the big bad.
That's Zahn's favorite NPC.
Well, yeah, it might not be Zahn's, but majority vote, Canlin is the favorite NPC.
Yeah,
I don't know who the fuck Canlin is.
Assume the DM can't come up with better NPCs.
Canlin is like the first NPC that they really met on their journey as a group. Also, a little pink kobold that worked at the rail station at the first town that they stopped at.
Yep. It's not about how good he makes an NPC. Ian could make a fantastic NPC, and we would not pay attention to them at all. It's all about just the random stuff we're drawn to.
Fucking Exhibit B, kickbacks.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh, dude, you're lucky I didn't tell you. God. I'm sitting here, like, going over my head, like, not that I've got anything wrong with your character, but it's just, like, Zahn's point of view is, that is a very bad race. And, like...
Traditionally.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, anyway. But at the same time, you know, I put a fairly decent amount of effort into every NPC that I make. But, like, I put the exact same amount of effort into Canlin as I did with the commander that you guys talked with up at Dragonshade Camp. You guys immediately latched on to Canlin and asked her questions and all that. The guards you were speaking to at the tunnel entrance, they had information about them. You guys didn't ask a single person their name or
you guys
really
you're
any
about
questions.
The cave that we just went into, right?
Yeah, the cave entrance at the Dragonshade Camp.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but I'm just saying that I put the same amount of effort into every NPC. So the commander got the same amount of effort as Canlin did. You guys focused on Canlin. I built Canlin more. You guys didn't even bother talking to the commander, so his information is just gonna collect dust. Because you started bitching at him, and then, well, sorry, Kasumi started bitching at him. Zahn whistled beautifully, and then...
I was just trying to help, thank you.
Yeah, and then you guys moved on.
Making it worse. No, but I'm gonna tell you right now, this is gonna be a very interesting zone, because Zahn is not gonna be interacting with a lot of people. Like... It is going to be on the group to do it, because normally I'll even go out of my way to talk to people. I will not be doing it in the Nightly Kingdoms. Zahn does not like this country at all. So it's going to be up to other people to kind of start engaging. And if Zahn engages with them, awesome. But like it's one of those where, you know, people don't engage with them. Don't expect Zahn to do it, because he ain't going to go out of his way.
Racist.
This is the way Zahn is. I'm gonna play the character as I have him designed. Doesn't like the Nightly Kingdom, so you better bet your ass he ain't gonna fucking talk to him.
Racist. Profiling. There are some good people here.
Bet there are. Zahn just don't care. But they got some pretty cool shit, though.
I'll make you care.
Okay. I'll be interested to see how you do it. And not being in a condescending way. Like, I will legitimately be interested to see how you do it.
Tug on his fucking heartstrings, you bastard.
He doesn't have a heart. Or a soul.
Yes, he does. First off, yes, Zahn does.
No, you don't.
Soul, debatable. Heart, yes.
No. It's just a pebble. So, kind of came up with, like a list of what I do to make a tavern or an inn. The first thing is coming up with a name. That's the first thing that I try to do. Sometimes the name comes later on after I've fleshed out the NPCs that run it. Sometimes the name just hits me immediately, and that helps me build the tavern out of that. Then I work on
base, like the design. Okay.
Huh?
So you kind of like come up with the name, and then the name influences what it might look like or what kind of people might be in it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm tempted to spoil one that I just came up with for the area that you guys are kind of going towards.
No spoilers. No.
It's such a perfect example, though.
I'm aware that it might be, and I'm willing to bet money, but as soon as you say it, I'm probably like, oh, but no spoilers.
Give it spoilies.
Okay, so no spoilers, but I came up with the name of the person that is the proprietor of it. And I was trying to think of how I wanted to design it and what the place was going to be named. And because of their name, after staring at it for like 5 minutes, I was just like, oh, that works great. And because of their name, I designed how it looked, what the history was for that particular place. I figured out how the floors were going to be arranged, room layouts, like where the storage, the kitchen, where the front of house was going to be, what it was going to look like. And you also kind of want to like figure out how big the tavern would be. Like what's the occupancy of it, and that is often driven by the size of the town. And I actually had to do a little bit of research into that. Let me see if I can pull. I think I put it up in this document. 1 second. It's like I actually went through and looked at the differences between like a hamlet, a village, a town, and a city.
What was the first one? A hamlet?
Hamlet.
Hamlet.
A village.
I know the name Hamlet
So,
because, you know.
Well, boy, let me tell you. A hamlet is a small settlement that has no central place of worship and no meeting point. For example, like a city hall, a village hall. So it's literally just like 12 dudes and their families made a place, and that's it.
And just live there.
They just live there. For a place to be classified as a village, a settlement must have both a place of worship and a central meeting point. A town is traditionally reserved for like market towns, which were different to villages and hamlets because they were the local economic center and more often than not were larger and had more facilities. So a town would be closer to like Trentonville or, Luna Wind is barely more than a hamlet. Like they didn't have a place of worship, but they had a central meeting place, which was the Tempest Inn. So it just like barely classifies as a village. Then you go up to a city, which is typically larger than a town and will have multiple places of worship and several meeting points. So depending on what I have in mind for that particular city or, populated area, that's going to determine the size of the tavern. So, like, when you guys first went to Luna Wind and everyone was kind of, like, depressed out of their minds, they were being subjugated and whatnot, it really was just Amanda running the place because there wasn't a lot of people going in there. A lot of people weren't leaving after dark. But once you guys came back, it was fucking hopping. She had people helping her again, taking care of the front end and the back end while she was, trying to do everything. So, figuring out that occupancy is an interesting, it's an interesting thing because then you gotta fit that building physically within the space of your city, and depending on the size of it, it may need to move. If like you had it on the outskirts, it's like, well, this place is actually pretty big and this place seems pretty popular. It's probably better to move it further in, and causes a whole bunch of reorganizing and stuff. The next thing to look at is like listing services. So I haven't really touched on this too terribly much just because of the area that you guys were in, but like sending messages and mail, packages, that sort of thing, washing clothes, mending clothes. I mean, you guys basically have like one outfit apiece, so you're literally living.
I'm naked.
Well, you have a bandana.
That's true.
And then just figuring out the prices for that, depending on what you're wanting to do and where you are. You know, more upscale places are going to charge you more because they can. Probably the hardest thing that I had to figure out is just like the basic food menu. Figuring out dishes that might be appropriate for the area, either just coming up with random shit or using stuff that I've eaten in the past. Now, granted, you guys have also been able to sort of flaunt your status a little bit and get free meals, especially at like Amanda's Inn. But yeah, then you get back to staffing the place. You don't need to go like super elaborate into all the NPCs, but you still got to be ready with a description, a name, and how you want them to sound. Which, you know, in a big tavern, you've got like potentially 12 plus NPCs to play. So I literally have like a written list of random fucking names depending on what region you guys are in. And if you just like, hey, I grabbed this little dude off the street, I literally like flip to that page and go, yeah, his name is this and he's a gnome, I guess.
A gnome.
A gnome.
Useful too.
Yeah. And speaking of staff, the next thing is to like fill it with people. In the same sort of vein, like you don't need to name and create character sheets for every single person in there. You could even just have lists for like groups of people. So you guys walk in and there's a group of dwarves that are covered in soot. On the next table over, you've got like a half elf, a dragonborn, and like 3 humans, and they all look sweaty and red from the sun. Maybe they were working out in the fields, and it's like those are just groups, and you give a basic description of what they are, and then if you guys go interact with them, then I panic and try to figure out what the fuck each of them are gonna be, and like just praying to God you don't ask what their names are, and just their history and whatnot.
What's your name, stranger? Bill.
Percy McPurserton.
Percy McPurserton. I'm using that. A little bit more fun to do is thinking up of events that are happening in there. Is there a bard playing? Is there a troupe of bards playing? Is anyone in there playing games? Cards, darts, arm wrestling? Is someone having a drinking competition? Yeah, Hugh Man. Hey, don't forget about Hugh Janus either. Very good guy, that Janus.
Oh, one of my favorites. Kin, you dig it.
Ooh, don't forget about Phil McCracken.
Don't forget
Great
biggest,
guy.
Biggest.
Biggest.
Continentia buttocks.
Biggest.
And go send him away to the lions.
It's a joke name, sir. Like Biggest Dickus. I have a very good friend in Rome named Biggest Dickus.
Speaking of events and games that are going on, is there things that the players can interact with? You know, you guys go into a tavern and Brick sees arm wrestling and he's like, all right, gotta start training for the next time I go up against Pez. And he goes over there. Are they betting? Are they doing it for fun? Are they just boasting and screwing around? And I guess the biggest thing is to just trying to remember to really describe the place so that you guys know what's normal in that place. So like, if I just, you know, you guys walk in and say, yeah, there's a bartender, there's a crackling fire, and there's a few people sitting around. Well, there's no there's no scene. There's no attempt at anything. But if I say you guys walk in, there's a couple of bards playing. There's a dude dancing up on a table holding 2 flagons, one in each hand. There's a couple people over on one table. It looks like they're rolling some dice on the table, and one of their members stood up, threw his hands in the air, and stormed out of the bar, shouldering past you guys, while the rest of them are gathered around, giggling, collecting up the coins that they just won. It's like
there's a Scotsman on a table saying, "Look what I've got under me kilt."
And his buddy's up on the chandelier above going, "Look under mine!" But, I mean, now you've got, like, 3 or 4 different things to think about. Like, do you go find out what the fuck the Scotsmen are drinking that they're showing off their kilts? Is there a bard or a musician among your party? Like, I'm going to go up with the bards and see if I can't earn us a little bit more coin tonight. Or do you have Brick and Pez who are going to go in at the dice table and see if they can, weasel some money out of those guys, maybe cheat them out of some coin or play legitimately, however you want to do it. But
telekinesis.
Yeah, telekinesis, Jedi mind trick. But doing it in that sense, even if you guys choose to like, nah, man, we're just going to go straight to bed. It's like, okay, so you guys head to the barman, and you ask him for a couple rooms. He tells you it's going to be like 4 silver for the night, for like 2 rooms. You guys go up to bed. Cool, done. But you still have options. And the place just feels more alive when you do it that way. It can be very, very overwhelming, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Good talk. Moving on.
Sorry, I got a message to question. My apologies.
So the next thing, I kind of mentioned it before, but quests. So moving away from the stereotype of the mysterious figure in the corner smoking a pipe and looking all super serious and spoopy. No, fuck that guy. He's a fucking shut-in, lives in his mom's basement trying to look cool. You're going to go talk to Gleeblethorpe, the goblin, who's like dancing on a tray sliding across the floor. It's like, that's the guy I want to go talk to. So, what's the source of the quest? And what is the task? Is it presented in the form of a job board? Is it you guys sit down at the table and you're just drinking and eating and like talking about what you did throughout the day? The next table over, you hear some people talking about people going missing in the woods, heard some howling. It's like, oh, they're, maybe a werewolf. We can get some coin for bringing in the head of that thing if it's fucking with the town. Or do you guys walk in a fucking smorgasbord of just random Willy Wonka bullshit, and there's a guy going, oh, those guys look like they'll take some money, and he approaches you. And, just a farmer. He's the one that's been hearing the howling. His sheep, his cows have been disappearing. And he's like, you all look like some strapping young whippersnappers. You want to help an old man out for a couple of coins? And
No.
No? Okay, well, I'm just gonna go try not to die. Good luck.
Like, I'm gonna go fuck myself. Have a great day.
There's death involved.
Well, maybe.
I've always really appreciated when you go into a town, like it's late, so he's like, okay, well, frick, we gotta find a place to rest. So you go to the tavern, you just grab all the people at the tavern, and while you're talking to the bartender, maybe someone like Old Man Jenkins comes up and has a quick word with him, and it goes away in the middle of your conversation. And then later on, you do stumble across some quest or something, not even in the tavern, where you're like, oh man, well, we're missing a puzzle piece here that has something to do with the history of the town. Well, who could tell us about the history of town? Well, Old Man Jenkins has been alive since dirt, so we might go talk to him.
So I'm not gonna lie. One of my favorite examples of how to get quests was in a tavern. They had the child of a prostitute, and he would listen to everybody talk. And every time the group came in, he'd be like, "Hey, did you hear this? Did you hear that?" And like he would just like word vomit and let them know about everything that was happening in town. So they're like, "Wait, go back. What's this about a demon? Oh yeah, it's possessing this place. We will be right back." And they'd like go off and do whatever it was. But it was always funny because it was just like this like innocent little kid sitting in a bar, like.
While his mom strips for money. Yep, makes sense.
Oi, does anyone have a quest?
They don't have babysitters in many of these fantasy worlds. Do not judge the working mom.
Yeah, no, you mispronounced twerking, Mom. You're welcome.
Hey, there she is.
But
Just reminds me of the Greek philosopher who saw a son of a prostitute throwing rocks into a crowd and said, "Careful, boy, you might hit your father."
But kind of looping back to the job board thing, there's sort of a few ways to kind of go about that I've kind of found. There's the uninteresting way, and then there's the railroady way, and neither of them I'm really much of a fan of. So the first way is like when you guys were in Rivercross and you went into the mercenaries headquarters, and I said there was a bounty board.
Ignored the Indiana Jones side quest.
Right, but at the same, with that note, I gave you guys a lot of options. There were multiple bounties. There were multiple missing persons. There were multiple quests up for grabs. You guys latched on to Lapis and the Duke. I feel like that, on the one hand, that's a very overwhelming thing to do, but I wanted to make sure that you guys were fully aware of your options. And depending on who you guys decided to go after, you could absolutely have delayed going to the Nightly Kingdoms and tried to hunt these people down. The other way that I feel is slightly more railroady, but also a little bit more, I guess, in character, is basically saying, like, you go up to the job board and you're looking around. There's a bunch of quests from killing beasts, bounty hunting, but there's one that really catches your eye, and it's this. And then that's pretty much a huge, like, this is the one that I am giving you. You don't have a choice of any other quest on this board.
But there's nothing saying that we still go for that, though.
No, exactly. And that's why I say it's kind of railroady. Because I'm not giving you a full menu of options. I'm saying, here, this one. Now, granted, I could, give you a few, but yeah, either way, I don't feel great about doing either of those. But yeah.
I've always been a firm believer that if you're going to railroad someone, you might as well make the beginning of the quest interesting. And make it to where, like, have some event happen, kind of like with the orcs that you did 2 sessions ago,
Sterling
where
Pool.
it's Sterling Pool, where it's like, whether you want to or not, you're caught up in this. It's your choice whether you want to continue to investigate or you just want to leave it behind and let them fend for themselves.
Yep.
Like
And
you're caught up within the what's it called, the inciting event.
Mhm.
But it's up to you whether or not you want to actually participate.
And there would have been in my own head, it would have been a very, very fucking hilarious encounter had you guys gone that route.
It's like, oh, stuff's burning and dying outside. Well, we're staying inside.
Well, no, not that. If you guys had decided, well, orcs, you say, well, let's go investigate that. There would have been an interesting interaction potentially further down the road that you could have had. But you guys were like, nah, we took care of it. We're moving on.
We're done.
Yeah.
I actually
it's your prerogative.
I have an example of kind of what Zeke was talking about, creating an event that happens that not necessarily railroads, but it kind of does lead them directly into a new direction. So this recently happened in another campaign that I'm playing with, but a very special item gets pickpocketed from an item in the party at a tavern. And this is something of extremely high value to where if you don't get it back, you're in deep shit.
Uh.
So it's kind of like that sense of urgency. It's something that would typically normally happen at a tavern, but it creates that instantaneous side quest to where you're like, I'm sorry guys, we got to handle this right now.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I'm not saying go steal all of our stuff, DM.
What? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over the ideas I've got going on in my head right now.
Why would you mention that?
It's just it's a fun way to railroad.
Zeke is gonna wake up missing an arm. He went out on a binger.
No, because you're supposed to be in bed.
You can have from this campaign. Watch, he uses it in a different one.
Yeah, the long game.
The long game, which means I'm going to suffer, you bastards.
You're welcome. So, last but not least is giving the details of the tavern. I mean, like you were saying, there's almost always a hearth, there's almost always a bar and tables, blah, blah, blah. But make it interesting. So instead of, like with the Tempest Inn, instead of it just being a hearth, it's like this hearth takes up the entire wall. And there is a massive carnivore skull mounted above it. Like, that's pretty fucking unique. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on with that is upgrading the tavern, especially if it's a repeat. So, you know, when you guys are first in there, basic bitch furniture, you know, a little bit dusty. You guys came back. New furniture, trophies were hung up from the mayor's place. More people were in there. Just, it makes it feel more alive when you guys go back to a place and you get to see how things have progressed. Like, maybe your favorite table is now been replaced because of a brawl, and you're like, oh, but I carved my name in it. Well, gotta do it again. Zahn just like dual hands his sword and just scratching his name into it. You know, things of that nature. And yeah, again,
very Borderlandsy. All the trophies you accrue just fill up the tavern.
Yeah, exactly. If you guys bring stuff back to your favorite haunt, I mean, it grows your legend, you get more notoriety. You know, people start telling tales of when you came in with this bleeding head of a basilisk. They're just like, oh yeah, you should have heard. The first night it was here, some guy got drunk, went up and stared at it for too long, turned to stone. We had to throw him into the quarry. I mean, you know, just things like that. And then when you guys come back to visit, it's just like, oh, it's them. You get rounds of drinks bought for you. You don't pay for a room. Like, notoriety's where it's at. And I mean, speaking of that, NPCs that the players interact with get more detail. So you specifically choose a server that you guys liked. He treated you well, gave you a lot of good information, gave you the down low. You guys go and sit down, and some random dude comes up and is like, no, where's Billy? It's like, oh, let me go get him. And he comes out of the back and he's like, hey! And then you guys just have a fucking party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it makes sense. I mean, like, it's just one of those where it's, I like the idea of that. And also I do find it very interesting of, like, what do we call it? Like, having the situation where, what would be a good example? Like,
don't hurt yourself.
Like, maybe like an anime or show, like, where a character comes into a town and, like, makes that town their home for a while, and, you know, for next few months or so forth, it's, oh, well, you know, I still go on quests, but it's stuff that's around the town, or maybe, like, one town over, and at the end of the, you know, end of the quest, you always go back to that one town.
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, unfortunately, you guys seem to have tasks and wants and desires that are gonna kind of take you everywhere. So you'll probably have places that you go back to for, you know, a period of time, but sooner or later, you guys will move on. And unfortunately, you don't have a wizard, so you can't just, like, set up shop in one place, go out on an adventure, and then teleport back and be like, oh, thank God, my own fucking bed.
I didn't know that was the thing wizards could do.
Wizards get the teleport spell. So
Okay. I didn't realize that was a spell. I thought this was like kind of like a make-up base spell kind of thing.
no, it'd be more along the lines of like let's say that Vanera spent her share of the Duke's money to buy a home in Lunawind, and you guys paid a really, really high level wizard, because to use a teleportation spell, you get that in the grand scheme of things relatively early. You were not able to inscribe your own teleportation circle until way later, but you could pay somebody to do it, and you could have someone put a teleportation circle in like your basement or your closet, and then any wizard that knows that location can then cast a teleport spell and just appear on it.
Interesting.
So you could theoretically have a home base with a teleportation circle, but none of you would have the capability of using that spell. Now, granted, you could buy a spell scroll, but a teleportation spell scroll would not be cheap at all.
Yeah, once you use it once, it's done.
Correct. So, but yeah, that's kind of pretty much all my thoughts on inns and taverns.
They're neat. They allow for cool interaction and new and inventive quests and shit. Yeah.
And prostitute sons.
Well, saloons are a completely different business, and brothels as well.
Yeah?
Beep bop boop.
Skibbity bop and da da.
Skibbity bop and boop up. Okay. So, do we want to roll for the next topic, or does someone want to pick one?
Well, we've been rolling so far. Let's keep it up.
All right. I'll swap to a D4 since we've gone down one. That would be
Also, in case me and Zeke go out, our internet is being a bitch.
Got it. That is a 3. So, moving on to casting without available spell slots. This is something that Zeke brought up to me in passing one day, and I said, wait, hold on, let's save it for Whiskey Wednesdays, because while I'm immediately just going to say no, and I'll give my thoughts on that, it is an interesting prospect. So, for those who are not aware, spellcasters, you have a certain amount of spell slots. So, you'll have like 4 or 5 level 1 spell slots, 4 second level, 3 third, 2 4, and like 1 5, just baseline whatever. Let's say you get into a massive fucking fight and you use all of your spell slots. Maybe even before the fight you were screwing around, making your friends levitate or whatever, or maybe one of them fell and you had to cast Featherfall and you used some of your spell slots. When a wizard or any spellcaster uses all their spell slots, they cannot cast spells. Per the D&D rulebook, you can no longer cast spells. It is just physically impossible. You are drained. Zeke's idea was you can cast without spell slots, but you would incur penalties. So you always suffer a level of exhaustion per spell level. So if you're out of spell slots and you cast a 3rd level spell, you will immediately have 3 levels of exhaustion.
Oof.
Yeah, and to be clear, there are only 5 levels of exhaustion before immediate death. So you can technically, if using these rules, you can technically only cast a 5th level spell at the most.
Well, by the sounds of it, you can cast higher. You just immediately die after.
That too.
Yeah, technically speak. Well,
actually, 5th level spell, you just die.
I would actually, even with these strenuous rules, I would probably say you wouldn't be able to do 6th level. You would attempt to do a 6th level and then die before it was completed. Just because it's like you have just enough of your own personal life force to cast a 5th level spell before capping out, but a 6th level is too much. You would attempt it and die, and it would not succeed, is how I would personally rule it.
Mm-hmm.
So now, Zeke, you mentioned this other part of it, but we didn't touch on it because we were going to save it for the stream tonight. But you said that there would be a dice roll for further consequences. So,
right. So the way Okay, so and I sent this to Becca and I think maybe Kirsten as well. But you would roll, so you automatically get the levels of exhaustion. That is non-negotiable. And honestly, I've seen this concept before, and before it was always just the levels of exhaustion. But then someone said, well, what if you roll a dice and say you get a somewhere between 18 and 20, 18, 19, 20. That levels of exhaustion is all you get. You got through with the minimum consequence. However, maybe if you roll somewhere between 14 and 17, you get like a minor, another minor unfortunate thing happen. Maybe you lose a little health. Maybe you're not able to cast spells for the rest of the day. Something small.
I mean, you already wouldn't be able to cast spells for the rest of the day.
Sorry. Maybe you can't cast spells the next day or something. Maybe
okay. See, that
maybe
makes
that
more
carries
sense
over.
now.
Sorry. And then so that's you have some minor thing happen that it's not good, but it's workable. The next tier down, maybe 13 through 7, maybe we'll say. A major thing happens that's not good. Maybe you can't cast spells for multiple days after. Maybe the levels of exhaustion can't be taken away with just one long rest. You could create a table of all sorts of things like we do with the jug of many things.
Now, another thing to keep in mind for people that may not be aware, for levels of exhaustion, generally speaking, you only get that if you do not take a long rest. There are spells and things that you can implement that gives you levels of exhaustion. But the way that you get rid of exhaustion is you can only get rid of one level of exhaustion per long rest. So right. Let's say that you're a barbarian and you're using your frenzy, which gives you a level of exhaustion. You go through like 3 different fights in one day, and each time you use frenzy, you get like 3 levels of exhaustion. You take a long rest. When you wake up the next morning, you have 2 levels of exhaustion. When you take a long rest after that and you wake up, you have 1 more level of exhaustion to get rid of. A long rest does not get rid of all of your exhaustion. It only gets rid of 1 level. So
right.
Make that very fucking clear. And while you're talking, Zeke, I'm going to look up the exhaustion detriments to read off for the stream.
I have it right here if you want me to do it real quick.
Please. Saves me the trouble.
So, level 1 of exhaustion, you have disadvantage on all ability checks. 2 levels of exhaustion, your speed is halved. 3 levels of exhaustion, you have disadvantage on every roll, ability checks, attack rolls, and saving throws. Level 4 of exhaustion, your hit point maximum is halved. Level 5, your speed is reduced to 0. And level 6, immediate death.
So essentially, if you stay up for 6 days straight, you'll kill yourself.
I mean, kind of accurate.
Just saying.
Oh, no, I'm just saying that's accurate. Like, I'm pretty sure if you tried to stay awake for 6 days, you'd be dead.
Yeah, not to mention you're living the life of an adventurer, so that's 6 days of peril, basically.
Yeah.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Now the partridge is dead too.
6 days of peril.
So
everything is dead. It's basically like Game of Thrones.
And then so you have nothing happen, a minor unfortunate event, a major unfortunate event, and then 5 or 6 and below, they were kind of vague on it, but I took it to mean that like you lose something really bad up until and including also immediate death. So there's still that small chance you might still die no matter what level of spell you're casting because you're technically not.
Oh, I thought that was the other way around. Like, you're gonna die, but something else bad might happen. Oh no, I'm gonna die! Your arm's gonna fall off, but I'm gonna die.
Well, they're
fucking gonna die. Wait, how am I gonna die? I'm gonna get hit by a meteor.
Well,
That's worse.
One of the things that could be worse than just regular old death is you have a you have a bit of time to be resuscitated. There are also spells that will keep your body in that state for, I think, up to a week. I can't remember. It's like a minute, 10 minutes, something like that you have to revive somebody after like 3 death saves. Dead. Like dead. You were gone dead. It may even be like a minute. But
yeah, I think Revivify is
within a minute of death.
Yeah. Spare the Dying is within 6 seconds.
Yeah. Well, that's... Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a cantrip, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
It has to be within the same round.
But, like, one of the potential downsides is you could, like you said, super kill yourself. And, like, if you roll that bad, you're done. Like, here's a new character sheet. Get to work. Because there's no reviving you.
Yeah.
Like, if you get disintegrated, if you were hit with a disintegration spell and you fail the save by a certain number, you literally become dust and you are just gone. Period.
That's actually...
The only way to bring you back is to make a body, steal your soul, and put it in a new body like a zombie.
No.
Yeah.
I don't even think that would work.
I think the only spell that can bring someone back from the dead from a disintegration is True Resurrection, which is where you don't need a body, and the Wish spell.
Mm-hmm. Which by the time you get the Wish spell, you're probably, well...
Wish is a 9th level spell.
I was going to say that, like, generally if you're dumb enough to get, like, super deaded, but I say dumb enough, by a disintegration ray, you're probably fairly on into your levels, like in the early to mid teens, and you don't get your 9th level until what, 16, 18?
I would say it's after that. Hold on.
It's been a minute since I've really looked at the math for that. But yeah, it's basically by the time your guys are level 20 and you're ready to wrap up, it's like, oh hey, Philip, you're back. It's like, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah, you get your singular, for most people's cases, 9th level spell at level 17.
There you go. That was close. It was a happy medium.
Yeah. So who gets the Wish spell?
Wizards.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all didn't pick a wizard, and you don't get teleportation, you don't get wizards, you get nothing.
There are a couple other ones that get it. Here, let me check, because I know bards can get it with a little finagling. So let's see. Wish spell. Yeah, sorcerers, wizards, the warlock patron with the genie, and bards. If they do some finagling.
Well, if they ever make a wizard class that can also do melee, I'm all in.
I mean, they did. We fought it.
We did?
Ian, you want to take this one?
No, go ahead. You're on it.
So it's called the Blade Stinger. It's literally a wizard with a sword, and it was the one where we fought against the other players, and he was the one that kept like fire skating around us.
Yeah, but they're not wearing plate armor.
Well, no,
Or
you
like-
just said
You
just
said
said
a
melee.
wizard that melees.
Okay, let me rephrase that. I assumed that, you weren't going to be stupid and in melee.
I mean...
Yes, let me go charge that really 10-foot tall dude in solid plate armor with this sword and paper armor. Yeah!
He killed Pez.
Yeah.
I'm aware, but at the same time... Oh, ow. At the same time, it's one of those where it's kind of like... He killed Pez, yes, but that's also an outcome I would have expected in that situation, because Pez also isn't wearing heavy armor.
I mean,
I think you're heavily underestimating a Blade Singer wizard.
Also, how dare you allow Pez's sacrifice to be made fun of like that? Fuck you.
I mean, rogues are squishy targets, and they are able to get into melee and do a lot of damage. You don't have to wear plate armor to be a melee character.
Never said you did, but at the same time, rogues have other... I don't know.
I mean, it's all about how you build your character. You know that better than anyone.
You should look
Yeah,
into
Being
it.
difficult on purpose.
Check out a Blade Singer Wizard. You might like it.
Not to mention, you can augment characters with feats, spells. That's where utility spells really shine.
Yeah, you make it so, like what he did with Zephyr Strike, you give yourself a burst of movement speed. Opportunity of attacks do not affect you. You cannot be hit by an opportunity attack. You increase your AC because you're moving so fucking fast. I mean, wizards have that one spell that makes them blurry. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now.
Mirror image?
No, not mirror image.
It's called Blur.
Oh, blur. Well, there you go. Yeah.
Not to mention Shield.
And shield. Like you've got a lot to get in there and just be a fucking nuisance with touch spells, bladed weapons. I mean, you can absolutely be an asshole.
And what's speaking of spell, this is really off topic, but speaking of spells that you are just a absolute menace with, and I think I've talked about it before when we were talking about druids. Does wizard get a heat metal spell? No, but the artificer does. Yeah, heat metal is a second level spell where you can just set someone's armor on fire, and they just have to take it.
Heh.
Yep. Well, speaking of spells and cleric and all, we did bring up very briefly before the stream started
Wait, dude.
divine intervention. So, just going to read this word for word from the book for Zach's purposes. Divine intervention, beginning at 10th level, you can call on your deity to intervene on your behalf when your need is great. Imploring your deity's aid requires you to use your action. Describe the assistance you seek and roll percentile dice. If you roll a number equal to or lower than your cleric level, your deity intervenes. The DM chooses the nature of the intervention. The effect of any cleric spell or cleric domain spell would be appropriate. If your deity intervenes, you cannot use this feature again for 7 days.
And we have
Otherwise, you can use it again after you finish a long rest. At 20th level, your call for intervention succeeds automatically, no roll required.
Wait, say that last part again?
At 20th level, your call for intervention succeeds automatically, no roll required.
Okay. Seems like a very small chance because you said equal to or lower than your level.
Your cleric level. That is very specific. So if you are
cleric level 10.
Well, let's say that your overall level is 15, but you've put 12 levels into cleric and 3 levels into something else, you have to roll a 12 or lower, not 15 or lower.
No, that I get. What
Yeah,
saying is,
I'm saying that as a
general,
general, like for people that may be listening to this in the future, that's what that means.
I see.
Yep. And while, yes, it is a low chance, especially when you first get it, you have a 10% chance for it to work. But for those of us who have seen Critical Role, we have seen
Well, I tend to see. I'm not.
it work where a god basically a god bitch slapped a dragon, which was hilarious to watch.
I haven't gotten that far. Thank you for the spoilers.
I am so sorry.
Bad.
But yes, you
So-
have. Never mind.
No, I haven't. I don't think I have. Anyway.
Never mind.
So now this doesn't mean that the deity will be able to do anything that you ask of them. It is not a wish spell. Generally speaking, like when it says the effect of any cleric spell or cleric domain spell would be appropriate. So if you were, as Zahn, you were to ask her to blow up the capital city of Harpermere, she would probably say, no.
I wish I could, but no.
But now let's say that Brick goes down and he's down, and you guys don't have a diamond worth 500 gold pieces to revivify him. I believe there's no material cost. You literally just beseech your deity and say, please revive him. And if you were successful, it would be, he'd come back.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I still have the ability to say no if what you were asking is outside the realm of the spell's capabilities.
We're stupid.
If you're stupid.
No, that is not what was said.
I said that 2 seconds ago. Didn't you hear me?
No. It's not what he said. He just agreed to a degree.
And
All I'm going to say is...
So you're saying there's a chance.
All I'm saying is that stupid should and will never be ruled out, especially when it's including me.
Oh no, I know you're going to be stupid. I'm just
Excuse
saying
me,
you should
young
be
lady. You
rewarded.
do not get to tell me how stupid I am.
I
Only
didn't say
I
how.
get to
She's
tell
just
me how
agreeing
stupid
with
I
you.
am. I will destroy you.
No one makes me bleed my own blood.
No, it makes me bleed my own stupid.
The poor bastards.
Well, any other thoughts or questions about divine intervention?
It seems very powerful. I guess it's still it's a 10% chance. So, being the kind of player that I am, I would never in a million years rely on something like that.
Well, the other interesting thing, at least with regarding you, is I would be shocked if you were ever successful.
Why? Oh, yeah. Oh, God. That was actually the first thing. It's you gotta roll under. I'm I'm never gonna fucking do that. Are you kidding me? The only percent I'm gonna roll a fucking 100 on my first go. I guarantee it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying, though. I wonder, would your luck work for you or against you in this situation?
No,
Well,
his numbers roll high.
No, actually, funny enough, in tabletop where I'm playing Infinity, no, I actually roll the exact other way. It's hysterical. It doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
I feel like we should make him roll right now.
Yeah, go for it. Roll.
1 second. Something's got to die. And okay.
Actually, you know what? Just for the sake of the argument, I'm gonna roll 2 just to see.
Okay,
Same.
so what am I rolling? Just to see what the die is?
So you got to roll
Wow,
your
I
D10.
actually rolled a 7.
Oh.
I'm not gonna say what I rolled.
What'd you
You
Is
roll?
it
gotta
more than a
roll-
7?
No, it was better than a 7.
So I'm not trying to be condescending, but you know how to roll the 2 d10s to get your...
Yeah, you do the one number and then the other is the 2 numbers.
Yes,
On the I don't remember what side of die they are, but
10-sided. So for those who are not aware, you've got 2 different types of d10s. You've got one that goes from 0 to 9, the 0 being a 10. You've got another one that goes basically from 0 to 9 as well, but there's it's double digits. So there's 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0. It's 30, 40, 50, 60, that nature. So the double digit one, if I were to roll that and I got a 60, then it's 60, and then you roll the normal d10 and I got a 9, so that's 69.
Nice.
If you roll a double 0 and then another 0, or if you roll a double 0 and then any other number, it's in the single digits. So a 1, a 2, 3, 4, and that's how I got a 7. However, if you roll double 0 and a 0, that's 100.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I always did it as if, since the 0 on the single digit one represents 10, if you got a 90 and a 10, that was 100 because it adds up to 100.
No.
No.
Well,
No,
you're stupid.
You're wrong. No.
You are
are.
wrong. If you roll a double 0 and you roll a single 0, that is 100. That's how
Any
that
other
works.
double zero and a number. Any other double zero and a number is just that number.
Single digits.
Yeah.
Sad.
That doesn't make sense to me, but whatever.
It doesn't have to. We'll make sense of it for you.
How, Zeke? If that doesn't make sense to you, then how do you roll a single digit number with the 2 dice?
If it's 0, 0, that is automatically just 0. So it's single digit, like you said. It's the first part what you said I'm on board with. What doesn't make sense to me is if you roll a 0 on the single digit, then the other one automatically becomes 100 instead of saying 0 and just becoming 10.
Well, but then you make it impossible to get...
Roll a 90.
Yeah. Because if I were to roll a 70
No, you
on
just
the
roll
double
it.
digits, and then I were to roll a 0, that's 70.
Wait, I'm interested. How do you roll a 90 then, Zeke?
Roll an 80 and a 0. Roll an 80 and then a 10.
That is disgusting.
So then how do you
It
roll a
makes
10?
sense in my brain.
How do you
It
roll a
does
10?
not.
0, 0, 0. Because the 0 on the single digit one represents 10.
Ew.
I
feel dirty.
I don't like it.
I hate the way that he's explaining it, but it technically makes sense. It just doesn't make good sense.
I am just keeping the numbers consistent.
I am too.
So are we.
Yeah,
No,
if
no.
you're
If the
looking at the
double
single digit
zero-
dice and you go 1 to 9, then you go back to the 0 on that one, and then your D10 goes to the 10. And then your single
Okay.
digit dice is 0. It is null. There's
So,
nothing
well,
there.
Okay, so then I do actually have a question then. So then, how do you roll a 10 in your system then, Ian? Is it a 0, 0,
You
and
roll
a
a
0?
you roll
and a zero.
no, you roll a 10 and a 0.
So you're not keeping it consistent. You're changing the
am.
value of the numbers based on outside
not.
factors. Yes,
No.
you are.
What? No, I'm not.
So, it's literally just, instead of 0, 0 being 0, it is 100. That is the only thing that fucking changes.
No. Okay. On the single digit die,
Yeah.
what does the 0 represent?
If you're rolling it on its
0.
own, that is a 10. If you're rolling it as a percentage, it's a 0.
No, it always represents 10.
No.
No.
This is bullshit. Y'all are fucking stupid.
I mean, logically speaking, Zeke's way of thinking is correct. Logically
No.
speaking, Ian's way of thinking is also correct. It's a matter of personal opinion.
That's fair.
Because when you start switching what the symbols represent, it starts making it too complicated.
I disagree.
I disagree.
I disagree
This
that 0,
conversation
0
in
being
general is
100.
complicated.
I disagree that 0, 0 being 100 is complicated.
It's really not that hard.
Whatever. Y'all are... I can't argue with stupid.
We'll
Look,
drag
we
you
can
down and
explain
beat
it
you with
for her. We
experience.
can't understand it for you.
Yeah, I'm through being dragged down and beat with experience. I'm just gonna go back up to my level.
Bitch, how
God
dare
damn.
you make anyone else have my expertise? I'll fucking kill
Enjoy
you.
your weather up there.
Oh my god.
What the fuck were we talking about?
All of you are fucking dumb.
Divine
No,
intervention.
Becca. Tell everyone, for everyone to hear. Which opinion do you agree with? I'm so
Why
curious.
are you dragging me into this?
Because I want to.
God
Yeah,
damn
this
you.
is funny. Do it.
Okay. I can see how both sides have your math. To be fair, I stopped listening like 30 seconds in.
That's
However,
probably
I
wise.
spaced out as soon as
However-
the argument started.
However, for people who have like neurodivergence and who need structure, Zeke's way is going to work better for them. For people who are trying to do more of a streamline, Ian's is going to work better. That's probably ways like that linear progression and that consistency a lot of people are going to prefer. That being said, the other way is classic.
Which way's the other way?
Ian's. So neither of you are wrong. Y'all are dumb, and I don't want to talk about this anymore.
How does Critical Role do it?
I don't think they have ever said.
Honestly, I think when it comes to percentile die, unless you have a D100, it's ultimately up to how the DM would like the rolls to be.
Yeah, that's what I said.
No one should get a D100 because that's way too easy to throw at someone.
Yeah, and they're freaking heavy.
Yeah,
I
have you heard
know.
Nims? Speak of the devil.
We have
Someone
one
want a
that is
fucking
metal.
jawbreaker chucked at their skull.
Did
Yeah.
someone ask for a D100 to roll?
Yes, please.
No,
I
do
know.
not roll it. Jesus Christ.
Hello?
Do it. They made me listen
It's
to
never
math
gonna stop
for the
tumbling.
last like 20 minutes. Fucking roll it.
Oh, hold on. I had to get it out of 2 protective bags.
I have two things that are going to happen.
Just
One,
to chuck
oh
it against
shit.
the hard surface.
Get my dice tray.
Y'all are dumb. Can't believe you made me listen to math. Fuck you.
You're welcome, you neurodivergent little bean.
You act like you don't know that's gonna happen.
D&D is
62.
just math. Oh, that was a very quiet roll.
No, it wasn't. I heard
you
it.
were all just loud.
The reaction too.
I rolled a 62. Do you
Good
need me to
job.
roll it again?
No.
No, you good, love.
No,
Put it away.
we were talking
No,
about
put it away.
how to read 2d10s to get the results that you want. And even looking it up on the internet is super divided about it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen like 3 pages that support the way that I've always done it. And I've found at least one that goes based off of Zeke. And they are the ones that are the most adamant that like everyone else is wrong. This is the right way. The other links were just
because
like...
our brains can't comprehend why.
Well, no, that's fine. But all I'm saying is that the article that I found about yours is saying everyone else is wrong and they're retarded. The other ones are just like, oh yeah, you just look at the dice like this and that's how you figure it out.
Yeah, but
They were very helpful with it.
But
No,
again,
that's
Your people were angry.
to be fair, people who are neurodivergent need that, and they will defend that to the death.
All right,
Because-
we're fighting. Roll for initiative.
Fuck you.
Yeah. I was going to say something very, very mean, but I'm trying to be nice.
It's okay. I'll cry about it later.
No, it's all right. I'll do it for you. Fuck you.
Wait, was it mean to Zeke or mean to me? Because I'm looking for a fight because I got a fight with a manager and a Karen.
It's
So I will
more...
bring it the fuck
I
on.
messaged it to Zach because I know he'll get a giggle out of it, but I kind of don't
Yes,
want to say it
do.
live on stream because people get offended.
Aw. Oh, baby.
Let's just say that it would not be an amiss thing to hear from South Park.
Let's see here.
You said it to me. I want to know.
Okay, first off, funny. Second off, no.
No.
The problem with that is that could be said for either side.
Well,
You're just
judging by my own
surrounded by
personal
them.
research, it's only Zeke's side that's
Your research
angry.
is based on the internet. The internet literally can't be trusted for anything.
Yeah, Abraham Lincoln
We're
said
on the
so.
internet.
Told me so.
Exactly. My whole argument has just been confirmed. Bam.
Fuck
I
you.
love
So
this
please join the
monster that I've
Discord and you
created.
can have conversations like this all the time.
People are
All
like,
the fucking
Zach,
time,
why
save
do
me.
you it's like people like Zach's like, no, that's not how we're gonna remember this. The reason why I say that is because people are stupid, and it's easy for me to say that.
No, the
because it
reason that
pisses
you say that is because you know it pisses everybody off.
No, that's not how we're gonna remember this.
You fucker.
Can someone please get me a harp while I watch the city burn?
No.
No.
If I have to watch it, so do you, you bitch.
I'll watch it. I
Get
just
your
need a
own
harp
harp,
to play.
cocksucker.
I want the world's smallest violin.
There's a whole song on that he's obsessed with. Don't.
It's such a great song.
If I do not find somebody soon.
Oh God. You're all bitches.
Excuse me, I am king, bitch, and you will address me as my royal title.
Oh, yes, my liege. Apologies for this, wench.
Royal
Did you
bitch.
call me a witch?
We are in a tavern.
He did.
I'm sorry.
You should be, you bitch.
Well, I'm not
Excuse
sorry
me,
anymore.
Royal bitch.
Oh my
I like
god.
how my laugh sounds like a witch's laugh because it's echoing between
My
mine
liege.
and Oh Lord.
Well, speaking of murdering each other, let's move on to introducing a new character to an existing party.
Whoop whoop.
So,
Do me a favor and add a stream marker.
oh yeah. Let me do
Carry
that
on.
real quick.
Are you kidding?
Skablam! There we go.
Aw. I'm still
Alright.
a mug.
So, well, yeah, you haven't told me what you wanted yet. Anyway,
I specifically did.
I don't remember.
Not
You're
how-
also telling me on the nights that I'm drinking.
No.
You have nobody
Wait,
to
how
blame but
often do you
yourself.
drink?
All the time. He's Irish.
Wednesdays.
What do you think? he drinks on any day that ends with day.
Any day that ends in Y.
Only
4th of
days that
July, Monday, Friday.
Christmas
Opposite day.
Noonday.
End with a Y.
Christmas Day.
There you go.
Any month that has at least 28 days. No one. All right. Well,
Sometimes 29.
anyway. So
That was a tangent.
it was.
Oh, Lord.
The idea here was from Becca, and it is involving bringing a brand new player into a group, or if a previous character dies. And the question was, how do you bring them into the current story? And that's an interesting thing to really try and tackle, because after a point, the group sort of starts to understand each other. They get used to how their characters are going to react in certain situations, and while it is a tragic loss normally to lose a party member in such a way, because it's, in the grand scheme of things, it's not heavily weighted to have that happen. Like, you have so many fucking options to avoid permadeath.
Still happen though.
Yeah.
It can happen. I honestly am not sure which one would be more difficult. Is bringing a whole new person into the fold, or replacing a character? Not emotionally speaking, but like actually getting these brought in, because I mean, I brought Metal in to play Kipak for 2-3 weeks.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
in my own personal opinion, I thought he kind of popped in and melded fairly nicely.
He really did.
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay.
Now,
Granted, I've known these yahoos for at least 4 years.
that does help.
Yeah. Knowing your player base is also a really good way to help.
Yeah.
Right. So, moving then to, for lack of a better word, the housekeeping, or like the DM side of things here, because there's always gonna be a grace period of the existing players who are super familiar with each other to getting used to this new guy or girl, depending, or toaster. I don't fucking care what you identify as.
Girl, toaster, fucking circuitry.
So, I mean, that's going to take some getting used to of, we can make these jokes with this guy, but, we just added a paladin. Now, the paladin gets all uppity me about this stuff. We got to, maybe pander to them. I don't know.
Fuck
But-
no.
I said maybe.
Fuck the paladin. Literally, it'll probably piss him off.
It'll probably make him a little easier to deal with.
He'll become a dark paladin.
So, I know at the very least for me, bringing a whole new character in is, figuring out the backstory initially, and then trying to work out, like, why are you there? Why are you now joining this party? What has led you to, like, how do they meet, first off? Which is something that really fascinated me about Critical Role when Talison's character died. Because he was gone.
Spoilers, thank you.
Anyway. Because I know you're never going to watch it.
Totally right.
But he was gone for a few episodes because there was nothing for him to play. And at this point, I kind of forget exactly how they ended up going to where his new character was. And at the time, I had no idea that they were going to be introducing a new character. So I didn't really have the time to think, like, oh, are they being railroaded into going this direction? Did they know to go this direction to bring him back in? Was it all the DM that was, like, sort of nudging them in that direction? I foresee that being a very interesting challenge of, is it a chance meeting? Do they essentially take over the role of an NPC that they were going to talk to anyway? I don't know. That's a bridge I'm gonna have to burn when I get to it.
You're crossing a bridge headed to tribal where you find him twerking on it.
Yeah, you adopt him as a pet, and then you find out that he can fight, and you're like, all right, you can stay.
I like your gumption, kid.
I like the color of your jib. What's a jib? Promote that man.
Gummit, you beat me to it.
So I will say, one of the reasons I brought up this topic is twofold. So when I had my work group, I didn't realize that one of the people in my group was inviting people into the campaign without telling me. And I was the DM. So I had like 5 characters I had to fold into an already existing campaign when we only had 3 players originally. And it was just total craziness trying to fit everybody in. And I think one person we couldn't figure out how to fit in during like an entire session, so we ended up having to have them just sit there for that whole session, and then the next session we managed to like squeak them in. But another thing is like my first character, I was extremely bonded to my first character when I was a teenager, and I actually developed that character in a like group survivors clinic, and like when it died, it broke me. Like I didn't get out of bed for like 2 days. Like I was that attached to my character, and trying to just play a new character when you're so used to, I mean, I played that character for 5 years, like trying so hard, and you're just so attached and you put so much of yourself into that character. It just trying to like exist as a new character was daunting and nearly impossible for probably like the first 3 or 4 sessions. So that's why I wanted to ask the question, because I didn't know. I know like I definitely as a teenager, I did not handle being put in with a new character after the death of my first character very well. And the second time I had to roll new characters into a campaign, it was kind of thrown at me.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of hoping for some.
Well, I mean,
ideas.
It is very much something that that was cool. Zeke barked and the toes popped up. It's definitely something that I'm having to consider. Minor spoilers. I think we talked about this the last Whiskey Wednesdays, but Nim has been talking about the fact that Pez may potentially not want to continue. And one of the things that I had to make sure that he was aware of with that decision, you know, outside of Pez's mentality, is there's a big possibility that if Pez boogies out, that he may not be on the stream for a while, depending on how long it takes the party to get to wherever his next character might be. And if they keep deciding to go where he's not, and then I have to try to, you know, rewrite the story and explain why he's here, or like, why is he trying to catch up to them? Why is he at the place that they're going to? Why does he approach them? What is his reasoning for trying to join in? It's a interesting challenge to think of.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
That actually. No, I was about to say that actually brings up an interesting thought for me, because like I make new characters all the time, or like come up with new ideas for characters all the time, and I've thought about it. I was like, okay, on the chance that for some reason Brick doesn't make it out of a session, what would I want to be? And I even had the thought of, well, we have a lot of people that can do a lot of damage, but we don't. But Brick's I would say Brick's probably the best in the group at taking a lot of the damage. So would I want to do another character similar to that, where it's damage sponge, or would we be okay if I branched out of that? So sometimes you got to think about that too. Is like, if you are unfortunately losing a character and having to introduce a new one, do you still fill the same role, or
do you keep the party balance, or do you do something else?
I'll be honest, you're a pretty shit damage sponge if you're dead.
or a really good one.
Yeah, if he's the only one that's dead and everyone else is tip-top shape, then he did his job.
Yeah.
So I know, again, going back to the Critical Role, when Talison's character died, his character was supposed to be a damage dealer, and weirdly, he did not have good rolls on that character. Like,
Nope.
He did almost nothing as Mollymock, which is very, very, very unfortunate, because the class itself is fucking awesome. But their quote-unquote cleric was Zach, basically. She took no healing whatsoever. So when he came back as a new character, he was a Graveborn cleric that actually healed. And then, like, everyone in the party is just like, oh, is this what a cleric is supposed to do? And they just look over at Jester like, bitch. So it would be a very interesting thing if Brick does bite the bullet. You know, we've discussed before about not having a wizard to be able to use those key things. You know, the tower spell, so you've basically got a mobile home, teleportation, so you guys can travel really fucking fast everywhere and not rely on items or scrolls. Or do you go with another tank? Do you go maybe a barbarian and actually become a meat shield? Or do you do another type of fighter? Or a paladin?
Yeah. Not only take damage really well, but give people buffs if they're close enough to me.
Mm-hmm.
Or branch out and do a wizard or a bard or a sorcerer.
Yeah. So those are definitely some things that I would consider. I mean, if you've got a group that's all squishies and someone is wanting to join that's another squishy, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but D&D really does, your party does thrive on balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to a degree, yeah.
I mean, the Holy Trinity is the Holy Trinity for a reason. I mean, even if you have one tank, one damage, one healer, and then anyone else apart from that is just icing on the cake because it's extra. You've got Brick, who's tanky. You've got Vanera, who's a healer, and everyone else is damage. Now, granted, it's a little bit weighted in the damage department, but technically speaking, Zahn could take healing. He doesn't, but he could.
I have. When we had the fight with what's his face,
the Duke.
Yeah, I had healing spells on my bar that day. This was
Didn't know
the day before. Yeah. Well, I mean, it never came up because it was never needed. Like Vanera had that handled.
Yeah.
And like that was my whole thing when we came with group dynamics. I literally made a cleric with the intent to heal, but then we had somebody say, "Hey, I'll take on the healing role." So I said, "Well, I really like the cleric," and that's when I talked to the DM. Like, can clerics damage? And Zeke was like, "There's a Tempest cleric." And I'm like,
yeah.
"Please
Zeke and I were just like, "Oh, buddy, can clerics deal damage?"
Yeah. And not only are there Tempest cleric, there is the War cleric, there is the Forge cleric. There's a couple of different clerics that I would say Tempest and War would probably be the best, but there's a couple of them that can deal some decent damage.
The Grave cleric
War
can
is
do
probably
some
like a
really
flat
fucking
paladin.
good damage too. They're decent with healing. They're more prevention of death rather than healing. Because I mean, any cleric can heal, but the Graveborn focuses mostly on preventing death in the first place.
So, like,
and dealing a
shields
lot
and
of
stuff like that.
Well, so one of the main things about the Graveborn cleric, you guys actually fought one, with the in Trentonville, with the 5 other people that I got to play. Basically, what they are able to do is they can cancel out critical hits. So if
Kasumi does.
yeah, you know how Kasumi's been doing that? They're able to do that as well.
But it's an ability instead of a spell for them.
Right. It's a reaction period. So every reaction, they're able to go, no. Now, granted, Kasumi's is a spell, and she also gets the added effect of giving someone nearby advantage, but that's what makes it a consumable,
It's ultimately
limited
very similar.
spell.
Yeah.
Yes.
And actually, Cleric is an interesting class because, like you showed before, especially with the War and the Tempest, Clerics can kind of ping-pong between each of those spots in the Trinity. You can do huge damage. You can do great healing, and as long as you got heavy armor and some good spells, you can tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact of you being a cleric, you can literally change that every 8 hours.
Yep.
Well, you can't change your domain, but you can change your spells. Yeah.
Well, no, sorry, not your domain, but you can change your spells enough to theoretically be good in any of those positions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're an insanely versatile class. But yeah, I mean, introducing a new character is always going to be difficult. It's going to be... I feel like Becca's example is probably the most difficult because, one, you're dealing with the death of a character that you've probably been playing as or with for a long time, which at this point we've been playing for over a year. So it would be a bit of a hit if any of your characters were to die. But knowing our stereotype, or not our stereotype, knowing the group as a whole, I feel like there'd be sort of a little, maybe a little bit of metagaming of like, oh, well, we're going to welcome this guy in and make him feel at home just because, it's Zeke. We're not going to make Zeke quit the game.
But I mean, that also does...
Zeke is the one who thinks he's going to die.
I'm sorry, Kip was nearly killed first thing.
Pez was first.
I have a feeling if I had to bring a new character in, especially Zahn and maybe some other members of the party might give me so much crap before allowing me to be in the party.
The sins of the father have transferred to the son.
Brick Jr.
Have you guys seen that story where like the kid starts playing D&D with his dad, and his character gets killed, and he just writes Junior.
Oh yeah,
and then the character sheet, and he's like, "I'm here to avenge my father," and just keeps going.
Oh, that's fucking hysterical.
See, I feel really bad for thinking this, but like, I don't want Brick to die because I have a really cool story in mind. I would hate for that to go out the window. Pez, on the other hand, he's done.
Poor Pez.
Now, granted, that's not to say that I want Pez to go away, and like I fully and wholly respect his wish to want to play someone else, but I do. There is that little nagging worry that depending on what we do, trying to figure out a backstory and working that into the overall arcs of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want that to become a habit. Because I don't want, like, Kasumi and Vanera to finish their stories and be like, okay, time for a new character. It's like, I don't want that to become a thing.
Right.
Pez has a new character for every section of the map.
In Nim's defense, it really makes sense for Pez's mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I'm like...
considering it.
Yes. Will it be difficult? Yes. Will I allow it to happen a second time? I don't know.
It's also one of those things where you got to be careful with how you tie it in, because like if you get rid of a character and you add a new one, well, where are they from? If they're from an area where someone else is from, now one person's story becomes two person's stories.
Not necessarily.
Not really.
I mean, the fact that Vanera and Kasumi came from two completely different locations and their stories just happen to coincide from what we've seen so far.
So be careful. I didn't say it was always going to happen. I just said that you have to be careful how it's done.
I don't really understand your concern, because even if
it wasn't a... Never mind.
I'm not following.
It's more along one of the lines where it wasn't D&D where it happened. I can't remember what the situation was, but one person had stopped playing a game, joined back in, and made a character that just so happened to be from... I think it was actually... I don't remember. Well, the situation was they were in the game, left, came back, made a character, and it just so happened to come into... Or it started in the area where another person's character was, and they wanted everything to do with that other person. Like he didn't want to be separated from this other person because they
started owning their story.
Yeah, I guess that would be a better way of explaining it.
Okay, so they were trying to piggyback off of their party mate's or their party member's story and make it seem like their own.
They seem to be like forcing themselves into the other person's backstory.
Yeah.
Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, like to a degree, like let's just say, you know,
Gotcha.
the person's from one place is like, and the other characters go, oh, yeah, I was there that whole time that was going on. It's like, well, were you?
It's like, are you sure? Because I'm the only survivor of this town.
I don't think anybody in this. I don't think anybody in this group would do that. I'm just saying that that's the situation that I've seen.
And I would, in a situation like that, I unless they talked to the person themselves and came to an agreement, I wouldn't allow that because that's not fair to the person.
Oh, I know you wouldn't.
Yeah.
But this is a like you said. This was the whole chat about like anybody.
No. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. But yeah, no, that's just a dick move.
Yeah,
It is
no, I
really a
agree.
dick move.
I
Like I
guess
said, I
my
don't
brain
think
just
anybody
didn't
in this-
fathom that concept because none of us are assholes.
Just-
we aren't that way.
Just out of curiosity, and you can totally correct me if I'm wrong. Did the person who came back, yeah, did they seem weirdly obsessed with the person in real life too?
No, God, no. I don't even know if they knew each other in real life.
Okay.
This was
It's
a
like-
long ass time ago. This is why I don't really remember specifics.
Okay.
Because like I remember hearing about this a long ass time ago.
'Cause
it might have even been D&D. I just don't remember what the game was.
I actually, since you were talking about it, I watched a TikTok that they were talking about this, and it was the copycat player's weird way of flirting with that person in real life.
Ooh.
And because they kept telling them no, they just pushed harder to make their characters be connected. So like that's what popped in my head because
That's
I just
fucking
saw that
weird.
video. It was really weird. But that was a similar situation where it was just like borderline stalker in the game.
Yeah.
If I can't have you in real life, I'll have you in the game.
Yeah.
That's just fucking weird.
Anyway, I'd like to announce my new character for Fools and Flagons, Zon's Papa.
It already exists. He is not an orphan.
No, I know.
Oh, well, I can tell you all about him.
Let's go.
Or you could play the guy that thinks he's his father because his mom told him that he was, but he's not.
Zahn would most likely kill him. Just so you know.
Like
Be
no,
a very
no.
short-lived character.
Like, well, you gotta die.
I wonder
I'm
if he
your
would
dad,
beat the
you're not
record
my
of Critical
father.
Role's guest character death.
Well,
I'm your father.
sorry.
You're not my father.
Well, no, essentially they were like in this other underground tunnel. They met a was it a kobold?
It was a kobold.
Okay, so
Because
okay,
they
that's a
asked,
fucking
like, how long did
coincidence.
how long have you been down here? 11 days. How long did kobolds live? 11 days.
and then they go into the next room. There's a couple of fire giants with like dual wielding shields, and he's like, I ran in there and I go to attack him, and they just squish him and he dies, and like, all right, thanks for joining, and he kind of gets up, waves at everyone, like, okay, bye, and he leaves the table.
Damn, that's
Like
what-
within
that's-
30 minutes. He was at the table and dead.
So funny.
What about that guest character, Fireball?
What?
What?
Wasn't there like a guest character that you were telling me about where they just like
Oh,
leaned
that's
over?
right. There was a pit, and one of them fell into a pit, and there was something down there that they had to fight. So when they got to the next pit, the wizard went ahead and threw a fireball down there, and they heard a scream, and then they heard someone from the other, and like I think Matt was like apologized to some girls, like sorry, and they were just like, no, we killed her character. It's like you threw a fireball into a 4-foot wide hole. What do you expect?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so
I remember that.
sad.
Oh, I remember that.
And like,
So something funny. So I had a friend whose daughter wanted to start playing, and she's like 6. And so I have this whole campaign set up. I get everything done. It's based off of Frozen. That's her favorite thing. And like 5 minutes in, her dad makes a dad joke. And she looks at me and she's like, "Can I stab him?" And she accidentally kills him.
Oh.
Because she
That's a
like
good thing.
stabbed him and I forgot he was on the edge of a cliff. And he just went over the side and he died.
All I'm
That'll
gonna say
teach
to this
him.
is, all I'm gonna say to this is, at least she was ready to let it go.
She
And it's now time to end the stream.
Oh look, I've been impaled.
I do
yeah.
want to say one last thing about characters and parties. It's interesting, Becca, that you mentioned earlier about you had a character that you were like with for so long.
Mhm.
During my first like maybe 2 or 3 years of D&D, I was playing with a group of college guys, and of course, like we all have our own schedules. We're in college. It's hectic and a mess, and I never got to play the same character for maybe more than 10 sessions. But I always played sorcerers for like the first, I would say like 5, like a campaign attempts that we did. And it's so funny because I was like, I love sorcerers. I just want to play sorcerers. But that got it out of my system so I could start branching out. Was playing those multiple start and stop games so much. So I just think that's really, it was interesting, the dichotomy between the two experiences.
Well, it was kind of sad because it was very clandestine. Because no one in my family knew I was part of this like group, and my mom was very anti D&D. So I was having. Well, no, she was part of the Satanic Panic. Like she has
Oh
a
God.
visceral hate of it. And to be fair, she had a reason. As sad as that is. And she's gotten over it, and she's actually played with me since, thanks to Stranger Things. But at the time, everything had to be hidden. And I just bonded so much with this character because I was going through so much, and it was like this secret thing that was just mine. And I played him every week for 5 years. And then he died. And it was so sad. And literally couldn't get out of bed for 2 days. The girl who accidentally caused it actually sent me roses because she felt so bad.
Oh.
And she's like, "I'm so sorry." And it was sad. It was so sad. Poor Lyle.
Out of curiosity, for those who have played a bunch, which would be, I mean, we've heard from Becca already, but Kirsten, Zeke, and Nim, I think you guys have played the most out of all of us. Have you guys had one of your characters bite the bullet? I technically did, but Zeke was nice and had a deity take care of me.
Good job. Good job,
There's
babe.
also the time that no, it wasn't. It was
None the wiser.
Yeah, none the wiser. There's a time none the wiser should have just got flattened by a book.
Oh yeah.
Well, but
to
you
be fair, that
you
was
told
like...
him, and you were like, "By the way, you really shouldn't do this." For me though, I was done. Like my cleric should not have. I should have rolled a new character because he got stonified by some basilisks pretty early on, and I was the only cleric.
I forgot about that. Yes.
Yep. And technically, the deity that was following them, chronicling their journeys, he was like, "I'm gonna help you this once," and unstoned him. Like, I was already thinking of new characters to make, because I was like, well, you know, I did what I had to make sure that the rest of them survived, but this is it.
See, there's a caveat to that, and I don't know if I should reveal it.
I mean, I don't know that we're ever going to revisit Odyssey, so far as I'm aware.
So there's actually a thing in Odyssey that the book tells the DM. Basically, every character in the Odyssey gets one.
Oh, so
and
Spider-Man. Nice.
Pretty much. So like each character has one Deus Ex Machina, and it each comes from a different source depending on what decisions and what backstories and stuff that you created. So that was actually a feature of that module, which was really interesting, I thought.
I can tell you right now, there is no such feature in my campaign.
You die, you dead, motherfucker.
So, I will say this, because I was a horrible person. So, I intentionally killed the next 4 characters after Lyle. I just used him as all the rest of them as cannon fodder, and just ran headlong into situations because I felt bad and felt like I was betraying my character. And I was just like, go off and die. It's fine. I'll make a new one.
Zach, are you still there? Hold on. Zach. Oh, okay. I didn't hear.
I was like, I personally have not had a character die yet. Knock on wood. Jeez, I don't need that to happen. I did have one sacrifice her soul to a demon.
Fun.
So that was interesting, and it forced her to transform into a succubus. So technically,
so I went from a questionable condition to
Wait,
a
when did
lewd
your character
condition.
meet Kelpie?
So I mean, she technically died and
came back
to life, but yeah, no, I haven't had any characters flat out die, thankfully. But I get very attached to my characters' backstories, which is why I'm not a big fan of one-shots, because I don't have the opportunity to get attached, and I feel very disconnected for one-shots.
I mean, one-shots aren't really there to tell a story. They're there. I mean, personally, I view one-shots as a chance to try different classes out.
Yeah, which I totally see that. I just find I put too much effort into my backstories.
I'm with Kirsten.
Everybody's got a flaw.
So even when I
a lot of heart and soul in that backstory.
So even when I go to make a character for a one-shot, I get not too connected, but I'm like, did I waste all this time on this character?
Hell, I have a fucking maybe campaign that I fucking poured for hours over like the fucking backstory of this character, straight down to like what happened to the guy from his backstory.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
What did you guys need me for? The curiosity.
I didn't hear you say "be right back," and I heard thumping in the kitchen, so I was about to go investigate with a particular item under my desk.
Damn!
Like a badass.
His dildo lightsaber. What will I do?
Well, I mean, I looked over and I didn't see a light because you normally turn the light on when you go in there. So
I will say I just remembered, because since you asked Ian, I have not had a character die, but I have been through, I don't like this character anymore, or I don't see myself going anywhere with this character. I want to change character.
I'm going to do a flip.
We're basically gods. Falls off cliff.
Let it go.
So I had for anyone who has ever looked at the monk class and looked at the subclasses, you might have seen Kensei monk. Never, under any circumstances, should anyone ever choose a Kensei monk. It does not make sense. It is the worst subclass, hands down.
How do you spell it? We'll use this as the next Whiskey Wednesday's topic.
Kensi.
About why Zeke has a vendetta against monks?
No, not monks. I think monks are great.
No, monks in and of themselves are great, but there are some subclasses of classes out there that are garbage.
Yes.
So
what I'm
if you
hearing
really
is
want
that
to rant and rave about this
is
now, you
racist
can, or we can
against
save
one
it
type of monk.
for.
I will just say I will just say one. I will try to keep it to one sentence or two.
Okay.
The entire purpose of a monk is that you punch stuff and you do it well, and you are very dexterous, and you're a martial artist. Now, granted, fighting with weapons is technically a martial art, but it is not a hand-to-hand combat martial art. I don't know why I chose a subclass where, as a character who should just be punching stuff with his fists, I decided to use weapons. I don't know why I did that. It was a terrible idea. Never doing
You
it
like
again.
shiny objects, which is why we have a weapons wall in this house.
That is true.
I
monks
shop
are
by
made-
colors.
Yeah. Monks are made to punch stuff. Do not use the Kensei monk. Moving on.
Well, I have added that to the topics because I'll be honest, I have not looked at monks much because no one has really expressed any interest in playing a monk yet. So I'm going to
nor
look into
will
monks
I.
for next
Monks-
Whiskey Wednesdays. And
monks
I
are
will see if
definitely-
I can convince you otherwise, Becca.
Oh, God.
Monks are definitely a class that you take when the trifecta is full and you have a well-rounded party and you're like, I just want to mess around.
Yeah, monks definitely
That's
have their
like
uses, but
my
from what
opinion.
I've seen, you need to be a little bit experienced with it, and having the trifecta is... Yeah, you need to be an extra.
Yeah,
I bet I can make a good monk.
I mean, you definitely can.
Please.
There are builds out there.
I was going to say, Zach, you've got 2 weeks. If you can make me the best monk you can at
What level?
our current level 8.
Okay.
I'm curious to see what you're able to come up with.
I'm also curious to see which subclass he goes with because I have opinions on that. But
Zach,
anyway,
I'm
Sure
going
you
to
do,
make
love.
a temporary campaign for you to join so that you have access to all of my shiz.
I was actually about to ask that.
Actually, you know what? I'm just
But-
going to invite you to Pez Blarg.
blarg.
No, I'll make you your own. I'll make him his own. It's fine. This one will be
That
Zach
sounded so
Blarg.
sad.
Anyway, back to the actual story of this. So yeah, I made this monk, hated it, was a terrible idea from the get-go. But the problem was, the DM had apparently worked a lot on the backstory and where the backstory was going, much like you have done with Brick, and was none too happy with me. And instead of, I would say, communicating with us and meeting me halfway and like figuring something out, he just decided to make it as difficult as possible for me in the future, up to and including introducing my character, getting him in the story, and just every encounter we had was just a bad time. And it did not help that he was a wizard, so he was very squishy.
Aw, the baby.
But yeah, so that was
I
the
mean,
whole
I
thing.
understand the sentimentality. Like, if, we're a year into playing, I have what I personally think is a great story for you to uncover for yourself, because you've given me unlimited control.
That was the point.
And
Bring it on.
honestly, if you just said, like, I don't want to play Brick anymore, I would be legitimately sad. Like,
He would
I'm
shit in your
excited for
bed.
Ped, or for Brick. It's trying to say, like, Peck. It's like, well, whenever I'm looking at the screen, I flip-flop between everybody's little characters as they're there just because I'm so happy of how they turned out. And I was looking at Pez when I was talking about Brick, and my brain just... And, yeah, it's just bad time.
You're gonna have a bad time.
But my point with that whole story is definitely communicate with whether you're the DM or the player. Just be like, hey, this was a bad idea. I built this character terribly. I'm not having a fun time. I understand you spent a lot of time on the backstory. Is there any way we can salvage that? Or is there any way we can transfer that or retcon it? And as a DM, just be open to the fact that this character is not having, this player is not having fun anymore, and that's the whole point. So don't take it out on them just because they made a bad decision. Work with them, and that way you both have a good time.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you just need to communicate either as a DM or a player. Just be like, hey, I don't know how to roll a D100, and you
Talk about-
workshop it.
You're an ass.
You just now realized that?
Zach, you may need to quit out of that tab and reload it because I just now enabled content sharing.
Yeah, no. I saw that.
I kind of forgot that I could only have so many content sharing options. So
curious. So curious which one he'll go with.
I already have one in mind, and it's very stereotypical, but I
No
have
spoilers.
racing behind it.
Is it Jackie Chan?
No, race-wise.
Oh.
Jackie Chan!
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Good.
I mean, so Kayla's not here to talk about Kelpie and why druids are broken, so maybe I'll leave that up for the
Why?
next time around. But
Sad.
yeah, she doesn't interact with us except for D&D, really.
Sad.
Well, anybody else got anything they want to talk about super quick, or
Coal
Uh,
pockets.
we've already
add
talked
ways
about
to roll
druids.
D100s in the next Whiskey Wednesdays.
Okay.
Did we?
How to roll D100s. Okay.
Oh, wait, I'll ask later.
Did we what,
I could have sworn we mentioned talking about Warforged at one point, but did I imagine that?
I think
Probably.
you imagined that.
Okay.
I was gonna say, I was gonna ask if everybody saw that video about the Stranger Things and the Satanic Panic thing, but I realized.
No.
Later on.
Oh, that you put in the topics.
Vecna.
Yeah.
I saw it, but I didn't really have the time to look into it for tonight. So that will be.
That's like one of my favorite things. I freaked Zeke out on one of our first dates talking about that. He was traumatized. It was great. But since they're using that as a basis for real life people for Stranger Things characters based off of that, I thought that would be kind of cool.
So I'll just put Satanic Panic with D&D plus Stranger Things. So then definitely make sure that you're here for the next Whiskey Wednesdays, because I have not seen Stranger Things. I don't really have any intention to watch Stranger Things. I can definitely look into the Satanic Panic with D&D, because that kind of interests me, but I may need you
really
to
cool.
be here to bridge the gap between
Oh
those
yeah.
two bits.
Well, see, since it's not, I'm trying to think of how to describe this. So there's one character in the new Stranger.
Save
Okay.
it for next Wednesday Wednesdays. No spoilers.
Fine. It wasn't a spoiler. Neat. And then by then I'll have something that's not this adorable little angry mug.
Yeah, you just need to remind me on a day that I'm not drinking, you goober.
How dare you? So never.
Look, it's the name of the show.
So never.
Shut up. So, if you haven't already, please join the Discord and submit your suggestions to the Whiskey Wednesdays chat text thingy. We play games all the time, even when we're not streaming. You cannot. I'm going to disable that command.
No, you're not.
I
What
am.
command?
He's trying to spawn hamburger. I don't have stream avatars open.
Aww. Is there a hamburger?
On Pez's stream, yes.
Cute.
See, if you would watch Pez Plays on Mondays, you would see hamburger. In fact, if you were interested in joining us on that, we are still playing Halo Reach, I believe. We're doing Quasi Lasso Legendary, and it's a lot of me screaming and Pez just being good at the game.
And Metal being at work.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah, Metal's in the cafeteria on the Infinity or whatever ship we came from, and he's just talking smack while we're murdering Covenant.
As he
But yeah.
should.
As he should. Speaking
had a
of
question about
metal,
Pez Plays.
is this a weekend for you to do metallurgy, or do you have metallurgy plans at all coming up soon?
This is my free weekend, so I'm streaming Metallurgy
bitch.
Magic this Saturday.
Saturday. So keep an eye out for that. Don't know what or when or where. Might be
Toaster
Minecraft,
has a
maybe. Huh?
Question. The toaster has a question.
I'm aware. I'm ignoring him.
Oh.
No.
I tried, babe.
No,
Okay.
you're good. Go for it.
So Fuck, I thought I
Pez
noticed
plays?
you were ignoring me, so I just moved on. What was my question? Oh yeah. So since y'all are doing Halo right now, is there any chance of returning to Star Wars game? Because I noticed it was on sale on Steam. I want to know if I should pick it up.
Yeah, what game?
The Battlefront 2.
Is it cross-platform?
Yeah.
It's. I mean, it's both on PC, isn't it?
That doesn't necessarily mean it's cross-platform. The reason I say that is because on Epic, it takes us through the Origin launcher, and if Steam doesn't send you through the Origin launcher, then we may not be able to party up.
It'll work fine.
Okay.
I say pick it up anyway because there's a decent chance of them returning to it.
Oh, we will absolutely be playing it again. We just played it for
Yeah.
like a month straight, so we're swapping it up a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm tired.
I want Zach to freak out about Darth Vader some more. So,
Fucking shit.
me personally, I would love to play Battlefront again.
It's currently $8 on Steam.
No, it's not bad.
Then I
It's
absolutely would
80%
buy
off.
it. It's
Yeah.
even if we don't do it for Pez plays, I'm sure we will probably end up playing it again at some point.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have my question now.
So yeah, we don't have D&D this week. It will be next week. The podcast should be up this Friday though.
Oh,
Huh?
Sorry, I'll mention it after stream.
Okay. Nobody has anything else?
Nope.
Okay. So thank you all for joining. Please join the Discord. We would love to chat, and even if you just want to lurk and listen to us be idiots, we welcome that just as much. And again, if you have any more suggestions for D&D topics for us to discuss, we have a channel for that in the Discord. Anything and everything is on the table. And yeah, that's pretty much all we got. So good night. Love you guys. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.